Hi everyone, welcome to an amazing UX UI design class from Designwings. We are super stoked to have you on board. It took a little bit of time to kind of set up real quick in the background. So I hope you guys are fully loaded to kind of not only just visit this session, but also learn a lot of stuff from our amazing guest who I'll talk about in a second. But before we get started, I want to know real quick, where are you guys from? And, what do you do? I'm a UX designer from this. I'm a UI designer from this. I'm a student from this. So wherever you are from, go ahead and quickly tell me where you're from in the chat. Let's keep the chat alive as much as possible, shall we? Awesome. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring up my OBS, which is right here. Today's session is dedicated to not only people who are interested in joining the school, but also people who just want to gain a bunch of knowledge, practical knowledge from the people, from professionals in the field for sure. So what we're going to do is I'm going to move on with the amazing session, like literally quickly just move on with a quick introduction of today's hosts. I am Puneet Chawla. I am the founder at designwings.in, which is one of India's most loved design schools as of now. I'm really proud to say that. Apart from that, I am also a design YouTuber and creator, but full-time definitely I'm an entrepreneur for sure. So today we have with us Prasad Gone, who is the senior UX designer at Intuit. He was earlier the senior lead interaction designer at Samsung. Okay, so that's something that, we just want to know real quick who he is before that. Of course, he's going to give a little bit of an intro to you guys so that you guys can get to, of course, in the chat, let us know where you're from. We would love to know where you're from India, from out of India, whatever it is, okay? Real cool. So what I'm going to do real quick is bring on Prasad. He is sitting right now in a Google Meet call. I'm just going to quickly, kind of tag him along real quick. Awesome. Hey Prasad, how are you? Hi Prasad, how are you? Can you hear my can you hear my voice?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me, Puneet?
Yep, I can hear you officially. Yep.
Oh, perfect. Are we live yet?
Yes, I think we're live. Definitely, just starting. People are just telling us where they're from.
Okay.
A bunch of people, different people from different parts of the country for sure. Okay, so real quick, I've already introduced you, Prasad. If you want to give us a little introduction of you, I'm just gonna ask the audience if the audio is fine. Yeah, I think the audio is fine. Otherwise, they would be like jumping onto us about the audio not working. So. Sure. Real quick, we are going to, so of course we have a nice little presentation for you guys so that, you guys get to know, what we are learning today. I've just prepared a set of slides and today we're going to kind of brush through them. We'll have a nice interactive session with you guys. Feel free to kind of start, whatever questions you have, just leave your questions in the chat for sure. We will be addressing questions at the end of the session. The session's not going to be too long. It's going to be nice and crisp, just like the way we like it. So I think for some reason my audio is stuck, which is sad. Okay, cool. So today we're focusing on 4 key aspects. I'd say 3, but the fourth's a nice little addition. The first one is the big UX design industry changes, which I would say have occurred over the past 5 years and are really prominent in 2020 to 2022, which are the new norms are coming in, and it's something that we need to kind of change up. Case study essentials, which Prashant's gonna really tell us about his experiences as well of creating a great case studies, as well as what he's learned throughout his journey with all these amazing companies he's worked with. So third is going to be future career opportunities in UX and UI. We kind of talk about a bunch of specialities we've seen kind of crop up in the past few years, what's really in demand, and people kind of ask a lot of questions about what's the future of UX? Are we safe from the AI bots that are going to take over the world or take over our operations. No, we're pretty much safe, but let's just talk more technical about it at the end of the session. And towards the end, we're going to talk about, what the mission we're on, the real mission that we're on, educating India, the world in general about UX and UI, and how we plan to make your careers, solid, real future proof, so as to say. I think I pretty much stole that line from some other educational company. I don't know. So future proofing your career, whatever. So I'm going to start off real quick, and Prashant and I are just going to go back and forth with this, and then he's going to take over for the amazing case study sessions. Case studies I think are super important. People get the portfolio, how to properly organize the portfolio to showcase. Pretty much there's a bunch of videos on that. There are a bunch of videos on what there should be in a case study. But today we're going to give you a little better understanding of what it really means to be able to build a case study that wins you the job of your dreams, basically. So the first segment that we're going through is big UX industry changes. So what is this all about? So the first thing is the new normal that we must kind of tend to. The first is, earlier what we used to say is, oh, your design is important, your tools aren't important. But now recently we've seen an increase of usage of certain specialized tools in certain areas, which make your skills, which kind of upgrade your skills essentially. So when we talk about the most used tools, we talk about Figma, we use Slack, we use LinkedIn for social media, that's different. We use tools like Buffer to kind of automate tasks around places for both designers, marketing. You could be anybody in the creative field and you could be using these tools. There's of course other communication tools. But what really kind of stands out is the more efficient use of these tools. For example, with Figma, you can automate a lot of tasks if you use a certain set of plugins. So what you're doing is you're literally reducing the design tasks you have for the day into half, basically, because half the stuff you can just do by efficient automation. There's a real cool plugin. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it's called Automator, and it's wonderful because you can literally create algorithms in Figma, and it kind of automatically does stuff for you on screen, which is real cool. And it kind of reduces the time it takes to kind of say, if you're working on a design system, you need to organize the design system, it'll do it in one click, which is kind of crazy. So, we didn't have all this earlier. A few years back, there were DSMs, design system managers, which did a lot of work for us, but this is like next level if you're creating something custom in Figma. So, I kind of see tools kind of working very in harmony almost with the designer's skills these days to kind of bring out the best of your skills in lesser time, which I think is really important. Would you say that's something that happens to come across for you as well, true for you as well, if certain tools have made a difference in the way you kind of design on a daily basis?
Yeah, I think tools have really helped me because tools because the evolution of tools has been such that uh, that kind of gives me more time where I can actually add value as a designer. So that's how I see it. Because a lot of the other tasks which I would otherwise spend time on, like Photoshop, designing stuff, aligning, matching, pixel perfect, like everything, those are being automated. So as a designer, I can contribute on something which really matters and where I can actually add value. So
Yeah.
that's purely how I see it going.
Yeah, yeah. And like, I really, something I really appreciate is the fact that design tools are now moving with us rather than, kind of 10 steps ahead. We don't know what the hell they are, or 10 steps behind where they're lacking our process, So I think it's really, especially in the whole work from home environment where we're having to sit at home, be organized, be communicating throughout the day, be someone who can collaboration, huge thing these days. So especially because of the work from home, earlier we used to just go to someone's desk and ask them about something or talk to them about something. Now it's more like, oh, I made this change in that design, please do check it out. So I think that kind of really helps in the whole work from home environment as well. So I think that's the new normal is kind of catching up, I guess.
Yeah, correct.
So certain specific industries that we saw booming, and we saw a larger increase in the demand for designers like us or creative people in general. We saw medical booming a lot in the past few years. I'm sure you've seen like a ton of startups come up for some medicine delivery or some checkup or something. And of course, if those companies are coming up because of an increase in demand, we see increase in demand in that area for designers or creative people as well. So whichever industry is going up because of any reason outside the design industry, the design industry is going to be affected. We see Web3 coming up. We see, with Web3, there are Web3 technologies. People kind of just look at things like crypto or Ethereum and NFTs. It's way bigger than that. It's more of a technology than, it's more of a housing of technologies than, that's only Web3. We saw enterprise software taking a huge, I'd say, skyrocket towards, companies having to use multiple softwares for multiple reasons because of the new normal. We saw, and of course, merchants, a lot of merchants get affected. Aapke kirane wale, the people who are maybe running a small shop, get affected because of COVID. So 10 different companies want to help those small businesses run well. We saw fintech take a huge, again, it took a dive earlier, but then it came up again because all these big startups, big names got into online delivery, online shopping. Anything that starts with online would require financial tech to kind of get it up and running so that people can pay for all that stuff. VR and AR, of course, this was a trend, I'd say, for designers especially because we see companies like Meta and a bunch of other, I think HTC and other companies kind of taking a lot of, putting in a lot of investment into AR and VR, Microsoft being one of them. I think I've seen a bunch of those AR demos, mixed reality demos, and it's kind of crazy how refined it is now. EdTech, of course, we're into EdTech. There are companies like Byju's or some notorious, some not notorious companies who are into educating online through either software or through video, etc. So all of these kind of industries kind of take some industries took a dive, but other industries like these went up. So when you see where can I have a potential in the market, you can always have potential in the areas in the non-design industries which are working really well. Of course, the third thing that I wanted to kind of showcase is focus on soft skills. So there was a shift from this guy should be skilled only to people actually having good communication skills, being able to kind of rise up. Because again, as we see more UX designers cropping up, we see a little more competition. I won't say it's saturated at all, but definitely a little more competitive to what it earlier used to be. So we see a lot of focus on soft skills in the new normal, especially working from home. You need good soft skills to be able to, so that it doesn't hinder your entire activity, whether it be working in a company or getting a job at a company. I think soft skills has gotten a major boost because of the new competitive environment, I'd say. Yes, this is very important. We just spoke about AR, VR, very tech focused. So earlier, what used to be, we're creating an application to help farmers check out their crop. That's fine. I mean, that's cool, whatever. But over the past 5 years, we've seen one thing skyrocketing is a bunch of, technologies that require designers, require people who can create experiences, product focused or service focused, on either the user experience side or creating great interfaces for those systems for that tech. We saw Zero UI. Zero UI is just a fancier name given to, to the virtual stuff that we have, like Google Assistant on your phone, or visual tracking, the eye tracking technology that you see, kind of coming up these days, which is working in certain industries. I think Xbox and all those companies also kind of use eye tracking tech to kind of track where you're looking at. Samsung uses it on their phone to see whether you're actively looking at the phone or not. Just a bunch of other implications also coming up over the years, especially with AR VR taking a huge dive into the industry. I think this zero UI will be a huge thing. Of course, I'm thinking of doing a separate video on the main channel later, but this is zero UI is kind of big data. We see a lot of industries focusing on data in general, be it data, we use words like data science and AI around that. But in general, data can be utilized by even banks, by how does Zomato know what kind of food best suits this kind of person? They check out a plethora of data to kind of predict the way users are using their software, the kind of food people like. So big data is being used in almost every company, be it a tech-based company or even a non-tech company could be using data to kind of figure out the best way to bring their product to the consumers. Knowing your stuff is very important these days.
Just to cut you off, sorry, Puneet,
Yeah,
but I would like to add something there. So
sure.
big data, like as a designer, also I believe we big data gives a lot of potential for us as designers to shine. Because if you see earlier, design was more about qualitative, quantitative. You would look at like meeting users, understanding it. But now with all the data which we have, like all the patterns in which customers are using products, that kind of drives a lot of design decisions. And as a designer, it is very important to know how data works so that you can bring in that data and again reiterate, because as part of design process, reiteration is very fundamental to a design process, that you learn and you come back to your design. So big data gives us that opportunity to kind of know how people are using your product and then bring those insights back to your design. So that's really one thing which designers should look forward to.
True. I think it's one of the whenever we're collecting metrics for, say, to fulfill a certain KPI, we're looking at a lot of data that is coming in. We can't always do testing or research continuously, frequently, very frequently,
Right.
especially
Yeah.
for smaller organizations where affordability is a big factor. Going out and doing research every week is definitely not something that companies are looking into. But definitely I feel, like especially with the agile methodology of doing things, which a lot of companies are taking up, when you don't have like consistent time to be able to do research work, to be able to gather all the raw data, I think all the information you're getting from say you're doing heat maps or whatever you're doing, using Hotjar to kind of get data from the websites or software, you can always get a bunch of information and use that instead of always having to go out and doing like raw research. You can
Right.
check out, like as you said, this data can come in handy there as well. Yeah, true.
Definitely. Like just as a example, back in Samsung, what we used to do is there was a researcher who used to like every 6 months he used to have a session where he would take an application or take the entire phone ecosystem as an OS, and he would break it down and tell us insights just with data. And it was so
Okay.
magical to see that just with data you would know when people open the notification panel what are they exactly doing, when they open their app tray what are they doing, what
Yeah.
is exactly happening. So, and with that learning you can bring that learning in a altogether different way when you're designing stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy the ways you can use it.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
almost never ending.
Right.
Anyway, so know your stuff. Earlier, it was okay to say, "Oh, we don't know, we're a designer. We don't know. We shouldn't know how to code." What's the point? Now, when it comes to being a user experience designer, I feel something that a lot of beginner designers skip on or junior designers skip on is understanding the tech behind the product. So if you understand the tech behind the product, you understand how affordable is a design change. You understand how the developer is going through creating that certain software or product or whatever you want to call it. You understand handoffs better. You'll be able to hand off designs better to developers because you can kind of speak their language a little bit. You understand their language a little bit too then, because you don't, when they're saying something in, say, in a meeting where there's PMs, the devs, the designers like you sitting and discussing how to go about making a production ready software, whatever it is. You aren't lost when the developer's putting out a point about a certain, say you've created some crazy animation and developer is, ye to nahi ho payega, that nahi ho payega, you can always argue on if you knew another way it wo ho payega, So I think a lot of times developers, this is a notorious thing, a lot of developers sometimes try to act over smart by using a bunch of jargon and trying to reduce their work by telling you to make some changes in the designs. I mean, it's happened to me personally. I'm not sure if it's happened to you
Yeah.
too.
It has happened to me, and I think, like, for me, what you said is something really powerful, that knowing the vocabulary of developers or the tech people or the PM. So that kind of helps, because if you know what they're speaking, you are able to explain them how that will work. So knowing the vocabulary is kind of the takeaway for me. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's really important.
So I think, when we talk about tech, I think we should also know about that tech, what we're designing for.
Correct. Yeah.
Uh, Third thing I think is we see in countries like India specifically. I won't say in the US or anywhere else, because there has been a little more knowledge of UX, the various specializations in UX, when it comes to hiring multiple UX writers or hiring information architects separately from the whole, okay, we're hiring UX designers kind of plethora. In India and other countries where the tech boom kind of happened slightly later, I'd say around the 2010s, I'd say, where a lot of products started to go online rather than being, taking offline sources. So I think a lot of areas I'd say, when I go onto LinkedIn, when I'm doing just any research for anything, it could be for a video, it could be for any content, I see a bunch of ads for hiring UX writers, or content writers. I see a larger demand for information architects these days. I definitely see a slight increase in demand for strategists in general, for UX, or it could be anything else. Of course, UX managers. I think a lot of people have started to understand leadership works at different levels in design. Earlier, it just used to be, some companies still kind of believe, okay, we'll just have one lead and that's fine. But a lot of companies, they've started to create a larger hierarchy when it comes to management and UX. Interaction designer, of course, Prasad will know more about this than I do. But interaction designer is something people have started to know about a little more when it comes to just small to medium companies in the country. I'd say larger companies still have a better hand in these areas, but UX UI developers, a different topic for a different day, but definitely something people don't even understand what a UI developer is or a UX developer is. It's kind of a newer concept, I'd say. Just a bunch of other things packed into one, to be honest. And of course, you see information architecture being something which is again at the forefront, as we were already talking about data and information. Websites have grown so huge and large in size, and the scalability is a huge debate. I wouldn't say debate. It's a huge argument to push scalability into as a factor in user experience. So information architects really come in handy there, I'd say. So these are a bunch of specializations. There are tons of more, to be honest, which I didn't think could make the list or the cut here, because not a lot of people understand what they are. But specializations is something that are coming up in countries like India as a big deal. Companies have started to hire separate these separate specializations, I'd say much more than, say, 5 years ago. 5 years ago it was just UX UI designer. So the same guy was doing the research, same guy was doing the UI, same guy was doing the testing. Now everything is, kind of split into these specializations. So looking at these specializations, I think is a must. So I think that was my segment. Now we'll move on to the more interesting segment for sure, Prasad. And real quick, I'm not sure you can see the screen right here, Prasad, but I'm just going to guide you through so that
Yeah.
you know which screen we are on.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
so the
I can't see actually. I can't see screen. So
yeah, guys, real quick, OBS, of course, I haven't added Prasad as a collaborator on OBS, so he can't really see. So I think we're on the same first screen. You can always kind of pull up your Figma to kind of check it out. So the
okay.
first one is what is a case study, and you've kind of divided it into three different major parts, I guess, here.
Right, right. So all right. So am I audible first of all?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much audible. Otherwise, people would have started screaming
Okay.
in the chat.
Perfect, perfect. Just to get a pulse check on this question, like, can you guys just like post in the chat and what do you know? What do you feel? What is a case study? I would like to know that.
Yeah, guys, tell us,
So
what do you think?
just a minute. Yeah.
Try and define case studies in one line. Let's give them like a little challenge. Try
Yeah.
and define case studies in one line. Let's see who gets the best answer. Whoever gets the best answer wins nothing actually. But
I was expecting something, Puneet,
yeah, okay. I'll
here.
I'll give you guys a chocolate. I'll send you. I mean, give me your address. I'll Zomato you. I don't know. Maybe a pizza. I don't know. Who knows?
Oh, chocolate was more Valentine, I would say, in this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just give it a minute. You can just read out because I can't see even
Yeah,
comments
I can't.
or
I
chat.
can't either. So the chat kind of moves slower than because the video kind of
Okay.
lags a couple of seconds.
Okay.
Um, but we'll let them define. You can always start with your
Cool.
own, and let's see who gets it closer.
All right. All right. Can you go to the next slide?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so
Yes.
somebody said case study is to uh, is basically to solve a problem.
Okay. Interesting.
Prasad's audio
Right.
is feeble. I don't know where these people get these words from.
Okay.
But storytelling your design process, not a bad thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay. That's good. Yeah.
What is the problem and how it is solved? Case studies,
Okay.
basic understanding of the whole project. Okay, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
people are like different viewpoints of the similar thing.
Nice. Nice.
Reverse engineer a product and analyze and give answers supporting your opinions. Oof, oof.
Oh,
It's pretty
interesting.
deep. I have to read that again to understand it myself. Not bad
Okay.
actually. Reverse engineering thing is not a bad thing. You can always make a case study on anything technically.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is the design process the designer uses to solve a particular problem? You
Design
got a
process.
got a part
Okay.
of it correct, yeah. Identifying a
Yeah.
problem in apps or websites and solving it. Again, a part of it
Okay.
is
Correct.
voice is very low, guys. Your audio, your speakers are, you should buy new speakers.
Okay.
Identifying the problem and then finding out. So people are like getting
Got it.
a
Yeah.
general sense of what it is. I think you can always, kind of
Sure,
organize
sure,
it.
sure. So like I'll just go ahead and so if you just Google what's a case study and what makes an awesome case study. So this is just one image I've put and there are like bunch of similar images. So if you zoom in, you'll see a structure there like my awesome case study and people you'll find similar references which talks about case study you guys got it partially right like people were saying it's a process then it's more like reverse engineering a product and then talking it's about solving a problem so solving a problem and doing design is one part case study is actually showcasing so case study basically talks about showcasing your design work so this is something which you'll find online everywhere which talks about like a structure where you should start with an overview there should be a problem statement then you should know your audience and users then what was your role and responsibility in that project how did you define scope what exactly did you do and how did you solve problem and finally what were the results and outcome and what were your lessons and this is like the google or by far a lot of people's definition of an awesome case study but if you ask me from like being from industry and also being a recruiter in the industry will that really make an awesome case study I would say no And the reason being, like, just to give you an example, if had there been a formula to make an awesome chai, so like one nukkad wala guy is making an awesome chai, he knows like the perfect ingredients to make an awesome chai. Oh, okay, yeah. Chai is tea. Sorry. Yeah. So if this formula was out in the market that this is how you make a perfect tea, and if there, so all the stalls, eventually all the stalls copy that idea, and everyone is having a perfect tea. So then you won't identify which one is the perfect. So someone has to do something different so that they bring in that awesomeness to it. So can you go to the next slide?
Yeah, I'll just shift to the next slide. Ooh.
Yes. So according to me, like this is one very interesting quote which I found and which I really like, which is every great design begins with an even better story. So yeah, to going to the next
This
slide.
is by Lorinda Mamo.
Right.
Interesting.
Yes. And so basically, my definition of a case study is it's a story. It's basically a story, and it's a story of your design project. And to be really honest, designers, what we really do eventually when you go up in ladder up in your career, we sell stories. So that's just fact. So a case study is a story. It's a story of your design project. And now, can you go to the next slide?
I think great storytellers always succeed in whichever area they are in. Be it someone who's creating content, be it someone who's a UX designer, a marketer, a brand guy, whatever it is. Especially in creative areas, I think it's very important to be able
Correct.
to be good. I think Ansh Mehra does some really good storytelling. I think he has a bunch of videos. He's a UX designer as well at Zadal. So he's been doing a lot of videos on storytelling essentials and stuff like that. So he focuses a lot on storytelling in UX, in design in general, I'd say. So I think
Oh,
that's pretty impressive.
yeah, right. Yeah, you guys can check that out.
Sure.
Yeah, storytelling is actually the key. I mean, for the case study, telling your design project story is really important. So, Puneet, if you can go to the next slide.
Treat your case study as another design project. I think this is the
Oh,
page
no, no,
one.
sorry. You can, oh, sorry, I can't see screen. So, oh,
Okay, a
sorry, I'm so
unique story is
sorry.
a great story. Is the page
Oh
we are
yeah.
on.
Oh, all right. So yeah, I wanted to talk about an example here. So I don't know what you guys are seeing. So it's very
A
difficult
unique
for me
story
to
is a
follow.
great story, is what I'm seeing and what the guys are seeing.
Okay, all right. So here, why? So now that we have established that it is about story which you want to tell, now why does it have to be unique? So imagine like you went to watch a movie and then you watched a movie and then you like a typical Bollywood movie and you were like, okay, so the movie was about there was a guy, there was a girl, then cops finally arrived in the end. So very typical story. So you will say that it was a typical movie, you will not probably like it, but what are the kind of movies you talk about or what you write, like the movies which are really interesting, something unique which you have never seen. So that's the key here. So a story should be something which is unique and which you have never seen or heard. And taking the same example which we saw earlier, where there is a very definite structure and formula to it, probably yes, definitely you should use that structure, but that's not how you should present or showcase your design work. That should be a story. So that's where I want to go. And now talking about like making a unique story. So how do you make a story unique? So can you go to the next slide? Not there. So what really will make it unique? Correct. Correct. Right. So what really makes a case study unique is the you part or your you aspect in it. So as recruiters or as like we being from industry and we recruiting a lot of people, we want to know your experience while you are doing that project. We want to know what were your challenges which you faced. We want to know how did you overcome those challenges. So you is very important. So we want to see the story, we want to see the project from your perspective, from your angle. And that's because it is you which is in picture, that is something which is going to make it unique. because you won't be same. Like someone else will have a some like a completely different perspective. Like even the problem being same, the perspective would be different, the way they would solve the problem would be different. So you is the key here, which will make every story unique. So yeah.
This
Now
is a
come.
very interesting perspective. I never really thought of, this your highlight, you highlight. I think it's pretty interesting on how you explain how to create a story. I think pretty interesting.
Right, thanks. So yeah, now you can go to the next slide.
Treat
Now
your
that
case study
we,
as another design project. Now, finally.
yeah, finally. Now that you know, case study is about telling a story. You need to make sure that you tell a unique story. Now, how do you start? How do you start with the case study? So my take on that is, imagine creating a case study is another design project. So imagine it to be like an extended design project. So if you do one design project, that is one part. Making a case study out of it should be another design project. And in like, I truly believe it's another design project. Why I would say that? Can you go to the next slide? Exactly. So, because like if you have to create a case study, you should know first of all who are the users of this case study. Why are you even creating a case study? So, of course, you're creating a case study because you want to showcase it to recruiters, hiring managers, get a job. So, it's very important to understand users. Then it's also important to understand their needs. So, if I'm a hiring manager, if I'm a recruiter, what are my needs? Like what am I seeing when I'm seeing a case study or a portfolio? So what I'm essentially seeing is the candidate able to solve problems? So that's one thing which I'm looking for, because once you come into my organization, I should make sure that you solve problems here. So I want to make sure that you are capable of solving problems. Then talking about craft skills, so you can solve problem, but are you good at your craft? Like, are they, I mean, whatever designs you make, are they good enough to go to the market? So how good are you with your craft skills? So I want to see that. So that's another need of mine. Then if I hire you, what value you'd add to the table? I probably I have 3 4 designers already. So if I hire one more, what exactly you will add to the table? So bringing in value is also equally important. And then if I have a couple of designers already, and if I hire you, how good you will fit into the team. So that these are like high level things which, in my experience with what I have observed, like I have also been a recruiter earlier. So this is what we generally see. So are you able to solve problems? Are you good at craft skills? Are you able to add value? And will you be a good fit in the organization? And also looking at the challenges. So now talking about me as a recruiter, my biggest challenge is like if I create one opening or one role, I get like more than 200 applications, and that's like true. And even before going towards the interview, I should know which candidates I should interview. And honestly, just as a matter of fact, if any recruiter spends, like probably you guys already know it, like they spend, you put in months of effort to create a case study, but a recruiter spends like 60 to 90 seconds, so maximum 2 minutes to look at that case study. So that's one challenge for me. Like as a recruiter, there are 200 applications. I have to look through 200 portfolios. That's really a challenge. And those portfolios are lengthy, because I understand from a student perspective or from a designer perspective, we try to make sure that we tell our story in the most beautiful way, in the most elaborate way. Like we try to tell every possible detail which we thought of, and that makes the portfolio lengthy. But we're not thinking of the users then, that what are they looking at, what how much time they have, because again, next point is limited time. So as a recruiter, I like hiring people is not my primary job. So my primary job is to actually work on my stuff, but this is again another responsibility which my organization has put on me, that while you're doing your stuff, you should also make sure you hire new designers or new people. So I have very limited time at hand. I have to look at 200 portfolios. So this is also another important challenge which you should think of when you're creating your case study. And there's always a pressure that the hiring should be fast. So now I believe, now that you've looked at it as a design project, now you clearly know that who am I creating this for, what are they really, what do they really need from this case study, and what are their challenges. And now when you begin, you kind of have a bird's eye view of solving that as a problem, like creating a case study is actually another solving problem. And so yeah, I would like to put it as like creating a case study, like solve it as a designer. So that's how I generally explain it. So now that you know that this is another design problem, you know users, you know needs, you know challenges, and then you try to solve it your way. So now comes the creativity of a designer, that how do you understand users, how do you solve their challenges, how do you make sure all their needs are met. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about on this. Can you go to the next slide, Puneet?
Yeah. People are making fun of half the takeaways are basically you asking me to move to the next slide.
Sorry, this is
Nice,
really
nice.
sad. I mean, had it been that I could see the screen, that could have
Yeah,
been really
yeah. Next
helpful.
time maybe we'll have that.
But yeah, I love the humor. Keep it coming, guys. Okay, all right. So now I think now that we've established that this is about solving problem, creating a case study is in a way solving problem. So that means that there are like a lot of people who must have already solved that problem, and they must have already created solutions for it. So here are a few ready-made solutions, aka tips from my end, which you guys can use while
Microwave.
create.
Microwave stuff, you know. आजकल आ गए,
Yeah,
like a lot of people just want to just put it in the microwave and just start eating it. So this is
yeah, correct.
definitely kind of like that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So these are like few tips which I would like to give. So the first one is setting the right expectations. So what does it really mean, and what I want to really talk about is when you start explaining your case study or start explaining your portfolio, case study, your story, start with the glimpse of the final outcome. So as a recruiter, I know what to expect. So setting the right expectations early is very important. Like if it is a research project, I would like to say what are the insights which you come up with. If it is a UI UX project where you created an app or a website, I would like to see what is the final thing which you have achieved. So now I know what has been achieved. I can like be part of your journey to see how did you go from where you were to that final outcome. And I would like to give a very interesting observation which I feel about Imtiaz Ali's storytelling in movies. So what he generally does is that's what I have observed, that he kind of introduces characters during the start, and then he cuts the movie there and takes to the last frame where he shows like where are the characters now in the later half of the movie. And then you are gripped, like now you're thinking how did this character, now because the establishment was done, you're thinking how did this character end up being there. So you are gripped, now you are thinking about I want to know this story, I want to know how from here you reach there. So
Yeah.
I think that's really important when
Like a
you're
little
creating a case.
summary of what's to come, basically just in a short area, a small amount of area, I guess.
Correct, yeah,
Like
so yeah.
a lot of portfolios might have a bunch of screens along with the problem and the solution on top, and then you can scroll down to kind of see the process of coming to that solution.
Correct,
So
exactly.
yeah.
And that really helps because I know the output. Now I am really interested to know the process. Now I'm really interested, from where you started, how did you end up there, like what routes you took, what was your journey, how what were the challenges you faced. So I am really intrigued by that. So that's the first takeaway, like set the right expectations, or first tip. Can we go to the next one? Are we on the next slide? Okay, cool. The second tip which I want to talk about is make your case study scannable, and this is also very important from a recruiter perspective because I've talked about how they have 200 more than 200 applications, how the portfolios are lengthy, how they spend just like few seconds. I mean, 60 to 90 seconds on a portfolio. It's very important that your case study is scannable, that just by scanning your case study I know what you have done. So what is really important here is using the right amount and right mix of text and visuals. So it shouldn't be very verbose, lot of text, or it shouldn't be just visuals. You have shown the screens and we don't know what you're thinking, what was your thought process. So it should be a good mix of text and visuals that makes it really scannable, and also headings. So this is like a very small point, but it plays a really, really important role, which I believe, which is using headings. And also not just using headings, but using it descriptively.
Like
For example, if you like write, sorry, yeah, go ahead, Puneet.
visual hierarchy should be there. I feel a lot of
Correct.
portfolios, they're just continuously just going on and on and on, but you don't really see what is like a recruiter. Like I've recruited also, and man, I don't even care about half the things that are in there. I just want to get to the crust of everything, and if it's that's bang on, then it's fine. Otherwise, I'm moving on.
Correct.
So
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, that's totally correct. And hence, as Puneet rightly mentioned, there should be a visual hierarchy, there should be a structure, there should be a story, the way it is flowing, the case study is flowing. And hence, headings plays really important role, because heading kind of tells us the the what do you say, check marks or the checkpoints. The first checkpoint was this, the second checkpoint was this, and then through the checkpoints you don't really need to go through the in between journey. You kind of know what must have gone through in between. So those checkpoints really help me quickly glance through and know the entire process. And that's how important headings are. And also, headings should be more descriptive. And what I mean by here is, probably, like, instead of writing, let's say, research or secondary research or research, you can probably write more like stuff. You must have already seen stuff in YouTube videos. You people do not, how interesting the caption, I mean the title is, so that everyone clicks on the video. So you should make it more descriptive with more questions, like, instead of writing research, probably I would say understanding why do people donate. So now, as a recruiter, I'm like curious, oh, why do people donate? I want to know, because if this project is about donations, so use headings wisely and more descriptively, that so that your audience is all the time gripped. So because you remember, they have very less time, they have a lot of portfolios to read, so it's very important for you to get their attention.
you can
So
donate
yeah.
to us by hitting that like button for sure.
Definitely. Puneet OP in the chat.
Next
All
slide.
right. All right. Cool. So the
Whys
next,
over what's nice, interesting.
yes. So again, so the next thing which you should really take care of, and which recruiters really care about, is knowing the whys than the whats. So when I say whys, what I mean is, why did you do a certain thing which you did? So what is basically, you tell that, oh, what I did is I did user research. Then what I did is I created personas. Then I did some secondary research. Then I did affinity mapping. Then I did information hierarchy. Then I did. Then I did wireframing. So those are like whats. So that kind of, as a recruiter, it just tells me the design process. That does not tell me why. So it's very important to know why did you choose that method, and how did you think that method would help you in your project. So if you're doing user research, why did you think that user research will help for this particular problem? What will happen if you talk to users? What are your hypotheses, that, you know what, if I talk to users, let's take an example of like you're
Yeah, like
creating a,
validating a hypothesis for sure. Like
correct, yeah.
if you say right in your case study, say a line where you say, okay, this is the hypothesis that was made, or a hypothetical problem statement around a certain feature or whatever it is you're working on. You can always say, I wanted to validate whether users require certain features like this, or I
Correct.
wanted to validate if users actually have this kind of problem, or a larger number of users had this problem. Because like if two users out of 1,000 people have a problem, you won't look at those two users. That's for sure. You generally want to make sure that the larger amount of your users are requiring a certain thing to happen to actually make that change or to actually bring something to life. So I
Yeah,
think
that's
one of
correct.
those.
That's like,
I mean,
yeah, nicely put, Puneet. So yeah, that's what it is. Like, you should, as a recruiter, we care about why did you do that particular thing, and what did you learn from it. So that's really important. So if you, let's say, if you're doing customer empathy map, if you just like, I did customer empathy map, we want to know, like, how did you even think that, why you thought of doing a customer empathy map? You should have an answer to that. I thought of this because I thought, probably by doing it, I'll know what are the emotions users is going through while using a product. What are they thinking? What are they like there are like a lot of bunch of stuff which goes there, so we want to know that why. So hence whys over what's is what I believe we should do. And also I've added like also slide in some house, because uh, while you're talking about that, also slide in some house so that we know you're good at that craft. So if you did a particular thing, how did you do it, kind of tells that, oh, you know how to do it. So you kind of tell that by doing this way you kind of express that I know this craft also. So hence in a subtle way you can also slide in some house there, I believe. So yeah.
Especially, I saw a very interesting case study. I'm not sure who made it. I don't even remember it, but I made a video out of it, and it was basically somebody had taken photos of different. I think they had gone to a rural area, and they had, they were doing some research there for certain products, and they took photos of people in like their natural habitat or whatever, working on certain things. So those photos were okay. No need for those photos, but because they added the photo, I was getting an, uh, I was. It was as if I was there with them, and it was just something different that they did, but they put in there so that you can have a reference of where they went, who they were meeting, how their sessions were. You can always,
Right.
like people can always take a video.
Right.
I remember back in PayU, we were recruiting for certain new UX designers, and some people actually went to like a cafe or something. They were working on an order placement app, and they went to a cafe which was below the office, and they spoke to the actual to both the customers as well as the receptionist and the servers, and they were asking certain crucial questions around how orders are placed generally, or is it placed on Swiggy, Zomato, or if somebody comes in, can they order through the phone, etc. And they took like a nice video of it as well while interacting with them, so that that gives like an interesting view of how you, like you said, how do you do it. So like, how
Right.
did you conduct it in general? You can give a visual feedback also there.
Correct, correct. And that again comes down to like it is telling your story. So as a person who is looking at your case study, I kind of know how did you go through that story. So that kind of helps me bring that story, like helps me understand your story better. So yeah, that's a callback. Yeah, okay. We can go. We can go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is again one more thing. So people generally feel that as like if I tried something and that didn't work out, should I really add that in my case study? Because I tried it, it was not that great. I talked to user and user said, "Oh, I don't want that. I don't care about that particular thing." So and hence we tend to drop that thing in the final case study. But honestly, as a recruiter, we really want to see all those failures. And why? Because uh, industry in the how industry works is like there is no perfect world. Like when you actually come to any organization where you work with them, there are going to be failures. Like always there are going to be failures. What really important is like when you hit a failure, how did you come out of it, and what were your learnings takeaways from it, and how did you took those learnings and went back to your design and corrected it. So that's the process which we are really excited and which we really want to see. So hence don't shy away from failure, like talk about them. That's something which really, like I don't know if I should use this word, turns on the
Yeah,
recruiters.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
mean, okay.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, okay. So hence I found this quote really interesting, which is failure is only a failure if you fail to learn from it. So yeah.
yeah.
So we should definitely talk about it.
Yeah, I think failure, I think a lot of times there are going to be hiccups when you're, if you're working as a designer in a company, there are going to be a bunch of hiccups. And people want, like, recruiters would love to know how you come out of a hiccup. Like, I'm
Right.
sure there are a bunch of recruiters who will even ask you, what if you're in this situation? How would you kind of fix it, or how would you improve it, or whatever? So if they ask you such questions, you can always say, I have experience around this. And even in interviews, it's going to help you out. In case
Yes.
studies, of course, it's going to help you out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you can go to the last. Yeah, this is yeah. This these were the four kind of ready-made solutions or tips which I would like to say, and this is like a final summary of case study essential. So, what according to me makes a great case study is not the first slide which you saw, which talked about like an awesome case study. That's important. I'm not saying that that's not important, because that's something which will help you identify all the things that, oh, have I really known my user, have I known what are the problems, have I really solved it. So that is a very good structure to follow, that's a very good structure to start with putting in information. But that shouldn't be how this it ends as a case study. So when after that you translate your entire project into a story, that's really important, and then make that your story, own it, we want to see through your eyes. So make it your story, that's very important. And then creating a case study, I would say, treat it like a problem and solve it like a designer. So think about it like who are the users, what are the challenges, what are the needs, and solve it like a designer. And like the final four tips, like set the right expectations, make the case study scannable, which is very important. Then state whys over whats, and always talk about failures. So yeah, and again, going back, so will this, like, by doing this, will that make a really great story, or is it the only way to make a great case study? I would say probably no, because as we mentioned that it's a problem. And I remember one of my professor back in college used to say, like, there's no bad design. Like, every design is a good design till the time there's a better design. So this is like one way to solve a problem, probably when you think about this problem in a different way, and you you have a very different perspective as a designer to solve this problem, you might end up creating a very different story for yourself. So yeah, that's about it.
Very, very well put, man. Like a lot of things even I got to learn today. So that's thank you for that.
Glad, thank you.
But like in general, I feel a case that like I consider. Like both portfolios and case studies in general, as as like pitches. You're pitching yourself as a designer. You're pitching your problems that focused on. You're kind of pitching the process that you're taking up. I think it for a lot of people it should act like a pitch that you can present in front of anybody. Like
Right.
you presented this presentation, your case study should be so good that it presents itself, I'd say. you know because you're not there to present it, somebody's just browsing through it. I think that's the only difference there. But I think a
Ah,
great portfolio will be one that or a case study would be one which kind of presents itself, pitches itself.
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's interesting takes on these case studies. I think, guys, this is $1 million stuff, man. Come on. So now we'll go on to talking about the future career opportunities. We spoke about all this case studies, and I'm sure you guys learned a bunch of stuff. Tell us what you like the most about the case study section, by the way, in the chat. Um, but we will now move on to a little bit of the future career opportunities in UX and UI design, and where money is going, where opportunities are coming from, and how you can, I'd say, get in on the rush, so as to say. So, I've bumped up a bunch of charts here from different platforms, websites, etc. There's PayScale, which is a US-based platform, Glassdoor. Again, all these are being done for US only right now, but it kind of gives you a good view of a worldwide view, I'd say, more or less. I did a whole video on the highest paying UX design salaries, and there I saw quite a good similarity between the pay scales of America versus India or other countries, is that it's not that vast of a difference, in the sense that the if we take the salary to the expense kind of ratio, it's not that very different when it comes to India, especially if you're working in major corporate companies, international companies especially. They're paying very well. So here they've given like a difference between graphic designer salary and UX designer salary, just to give you a good comparison of what other creative fields are going on and why UX is now moving ahead a lot out of all these. So here it's U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics is $53,380 a median salary in 2020. This is not even very old. UX designer salary at the same time is $77,200 a median salary. We're not talking average, we're talking median. The Glassdoor has a different story to tell, of course, because it's more average here. $48,537 in 2021 for graphic designers, and $102,056. I don't know why they put that 56 there, but $102,056 average salary in 2021 for a UX designer. So worldwide, it's well over $100,000 or I'd say 80 to 90,000 euros if you go to Europe. That's the average what I've noticed. And Australia, I'm not very sure about, but it's going to be around the European limit. I'd say in India, it's generally around the 7 to 10 lakh rupee range as a junior. Would you disagree on that? I'd say 7 lakhs, 6 to 7 lakhs is a fine amount for if you're looking at a larger organization. I'm not talking about startups.
Yes, definitely. I would say it's higher than that, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah. So
Yes,
like,
I recently came across like a study, like I know these numbers and dollars, but I saw one, I can send you that report. It's from around one, the data is from 1,000 designers, and that kind of
yeah, that's
benchmarks
that's
the
the
Indian
video I did.
industry.
I
I
think
can share
that's the
that with
video
you.
I did. Zeta has somebody from
Yeah,
Zeta has,
Zeta,
yeah,
correct, correct. Yeah, Zeta
yeah.
has put it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so I think there you get to know that designers are like, if you're in managerial positions or if you're in like directorial positions, you're earning in crores often. So that's the value of a UX designer these days, you know. So that gives you a good example of how UX designers are doing as compared to other creative fields. I see a lot of other creative fields taking a slump because of the saturation, because of general it not being as effective towards the product as UX design is. UX design is directly affecting the product, and say graphic design is there for more marketing stuff, etc. So definitely, I have seen a slump there. Another quick chart just to show you the opportunity growth over the years. So this chart, I think, I'm not sure what the source is, but I think it's from a very valid source, if I'm not wrong. Some numbers here state that in 2010, there were 410,000 jobs in the field of UX worldwide, I'm talking about. In 2016, it changed to 472,259, which is a 15% change. However, after 2016, there has been a continuous growth, no slump for UX design. It's gone up easy by, I'd say, by 10 to 20,000 each year on average, job requirements in UX design. I'd say as of now in India, there would be a few, I'll put a few lakhs as a number. I might be gambling here, but there are a few lakh UX designers required. Plethora of companies, startups, medium, large, studios, we're talking individuals, proprietorships, every kind of company we're taking into view. I think there's a lakh or 2 lakh UX designers required as of today, I'd say. Again, it could be a gamble. I could be definitely wrong. Now, there are 3 key disciplines of product development. I've seen a lot of people move away from UX design to product management. I've seen some people move from user experience to engineering, or engineering to user experience, vice versa everywhere. So the 3 key disciplines are always going to be product management, user experience, and engineering. Now, how this ties in that user experience, a good user experience designer will be able to become a good product manager, in my opinion. A good product manager who is interested in UX will be able to become a good UX designer as well. See, like I love the fact that the three key disciplines of product development can always shift careers, because I've seen a lot of engineers becoming interested in UX, and they understand that because they've been building that. Whatever you've been designing, they've been building. So they understood, okay, this is the hierarchy of stuff. These are different sections I need to design. Okay, this button does this. So they know all the names of everything. They have the UI kind of on lock and load. They just need the knowledge of research and testing, etc., to actually shift to UX. So guys, beware. Your job could be taken up by an engineer one day. No, I'm just joking.
Engineer turned into UX or
Yeah.
experience designer.
See. So these three areas are very both lucrative as well as highly in demand. Under product development, we definitely focus on user experience. One thing that I've realized from my experience is a sustainable career can be built by improving neighboring skills. Now, when I say neighboring skills, I mean both soft skills as well as things like, okay, if I'm a user experience designer, can I try to learn After Effects and maybe create my own Lottie files? Of course I can. So you add that as I won't call it a skill, but definitely you're learning something new and you're bringing that to the table. You can now design custom animations for your products, which is cool. You, if you're a UX designer, you go ahead and do a course on business or marketing or anything. All that is going to directly affect the way you think about creating a product in general. So I feel someone who wants to sustain his career in user experience will not only look at user experience as a skill set. He will look as user experience as um, a way of doing something, as a way of solving a problem, as a way of bringing more business, as a way of creating great content, as a way of making the product more interactive. So whatever it is, newer skills, newer skill sets, things like, you're learning After Effects, you want to go ahead and start doing some learning how to do interaction design, how to research for interaction, how to kind of test for interaction design. You can do all that. Like, he knows 10 times more than about interaction design than I do. But like, interaction design is another I would say is a separate field altogether. But as a user experience designer, you can also master interaction design, and a lot of people go from UX to interaction to UX also, like that. So these are neighboring skills, I'd say, and if you acquire these neighboring or additional skills, whatever you want to call it, you're set to go. Nobody can take your job away. Even if AI comes in, nobody cares. So this is like a little viewpoint of what I feel will bring you into the field as a sustainable user experience designer. So
Just to add to that, Puneet, sorry, like I can think of, like, these guys are in the perfect time where NFT is picking up. So can you hear me?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so NFTs are picking up. So having these neighboring skills is really important while you are doing user experience, because that's like another stream which you can open up for yourself. So you guys are coming into the field at the very golden period, I would say.
Yeah, I think Web3 in general is going to change the way
Yeah,
we look at developing a
right,
product.
right.
Especially, everything is going to be decentralized. We want to bring safety and privacy is a big thing. There are like a bunch of things which are happening around. I think if designers take that up, I think it'll be, set. So yeah, NFTs is also cool. I'd say a lot of companies have started to develop their own NFT collections, etc., to kind of basically cash in on the trend. I'd say a lot of companies definitely
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
But
Mhm.
even if you can convert, even if you're an artist, you have a lot of value. That means in today's market. And I think Lollipop Design Studio, if you look at the kind of people they hire, they love to hire creative people, artists. They're not only focused on, okay, she should know UX, but they come in front and they say, we want artists. So I
True.
think that's a very interesting way of thinking about a designer in general.
Yes, yes. And I don't want people like, because there are, I know a lot of people very new to UX, to think that, because I know this has been like always a myth that to be a designer, you should have an art inclination
Yeah.
or you should be good at arts. So that's not the case. You should
Hmm.
be good problem solver. So that's
Yeah.
like the fundamental skill for
True.
a designer. And having this extra like creative, and also, I mean, of course you can be creative in problem solving, but I would say more hand skills are an extra bonus, but that does not like make you not a
Yeah.
designer.
A
So
lot of
yeah,
people, yeah,
just that
think
point.
have that thing that do we need to be super creative? Well,
Yeah,
being creative is subjective. You know,
right,
uh, you could be um, you could be creating an amazing product, being the dullest person in the world. I don't want to say it that way, but if you have zero creativity, you can still be a great designer, as long as you are a great, as he said, problem solver. As long as
right,
you're someone who can execute solutions through various, I'd say through, be it UI, testing, research, whatever it is. But
right,
you can execute that on the phone. If people can use it, it's usable, it's user friendly, it's good to go. People are actually buying or whatever, paying whatever. It's good to go. What's the harm?
right, right.
So I think that brings us towards the end, and we just want to kind of give you an overview of what we do. Yes, Sadit here is also a part of Designwings now, and we'll be doing great stuff. We'll be doing workshops like this often on a brand new platform that we're bringing up. But Designwings UI UX School is something that we've been doing for the past um, close to 2 years now, and we've had 200 plus students graduate, various students getting jobs at some amazing companies, and mentors are from the top notch companies because they deserved that, and they have a lot of experience. Some people having like 15, 20 years of experience in the field. So real seasoned people, hired to really teach you the best practical knowledge in the industry. We, pride ourselves on being, first of all, virtual and online. We were the first only online design school in India. Everyone was doing offline before that, and we kind of jumped in. We have, our mentors are always available for their students because, we want to be there to help you out in your career, and not just, okay, curriculum khatam to our relationship is over. That's not the kind of relationship that we want to maintain. All our classes are super practical. There's something being done. There's 3 projects we get done. So it's always doing something with your hands, making something or writing something always. Um, and we give you full career placement guidance, as well as guarantee that we will get you placed no matter what. Of course, we have certain terms and conditions. You can always read those, but they're very straightforward. And we are proud to be 100% Indian, made in India for sure. Um, I think services can say that as well now, but hopefully we'll be able to host everything on an Indian platform as well. Right now it's all American tech being used, but soon everything will be Indian for sure. So do go check it out, designwings.in. That's simple, designwings.in. Again, thank you very much, Prasad, for being on the call, for taking out time from your Saturday evening, which you'd rather spend doing something a little more fun. But this was, I think, for me, it is always fun.
Yeah, this
Um,
is fun for me as well. Like, thank you so much for having me. Like, I would definitely love to share more. So
yeah,
yeah,
and
it was
guys,
fun
we're
for me.
having a February batch where Prasad will be your mentor. So go ahead. I think 50% capacity is already done. 50% is left. We have like 2.5 weeks left for admission. So go ahead, get your admission right now. You know the drill. Go to designwings.in. Everything is explained there in detail. So again, guys, thank you all for joining in. Whoever watches this as a recording later on, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the February batch, hopefully. So go ahead and do that. And thank you, Prasad, once again,
Thank you.
taking everyone's leave from this virtual platform, and we'll chuck the call now. Thank you, guys. Thank you
Sure.
for being here.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. See you. Have a good Saturday and Sunday.
Awesome.